Hey everyone, Teo here. Today I'm reviewing the Xencelabs Pen Display 16. First of all, a disclaimer, this is a review unit provided by the company, and in this video I'll just present to you my findings so that you can decide whether this is worth the money. At the time of review, the price of this pen display is US $1,200, and this is for the essentials set that comes with all the essential items that you need for drawing, such as 2 pens and the cable and other miscellaneous accessories. There is another set called the bundle, and this is an extra US $100, and this is the set that the company sent me for review. So this is US $1,300, and you actually get a lot more items, such as the video adapter that can work with HDMI and DisplayPort, and you get all the cables including the power plugs, and there is also this quick keys shortcut remote, and there is also a tablet stand. If you want to get this pen display, the bundle set is worth getting, and you will know why as I show you all the items later. Now this price will vary depending on where you buy this pen display from. On Amazon, the price may be slightly lower. As usual, let me give you the bottom line up front to help you decide whether you should continue watching this video. This is the industry's first 16-inch 4K OLED pen display. So the visual quality you can get from this display is fantastic. I measured color support for 100% sRGB, 95% Adobe RGB, and with a single cable connection to my computer, I was able to get a maximum brightness of 260 nits, which is more than sufficient for me because I tend to work between 150 to 200 nits. This is not a touch screen, which is alright for me because I am more efficient with my keyboard shortcuts. And this is matte textured, and the surface is really nice to draw on. And the anti-glare works really well. So this is my window, and this is the diffused reflection for my window, and you can see that even with the diffused reflection, I can still see the display, the content of the screen, and the brightness is high enough to go through the display. And as long as you do not have reflections on the display, you're going to get the best visual quality. This display is laminated, so the lines look like they are coming out from beneath the pen tip. The pens included support tilt and slightly over 8,000 levels of pressure sensitivity, so you can choose a thick brush and still draw thin lines by just varying the pressure. And the performance is consistent and predictable, so you can use thin lines to draw details and press down hard to use the thick lines to color. So this is very versatile. The matte textured surface is quite smooth, but it does provide good control with the pen. This matte glass surface does introduce slight color noise, but it's a very minor issue, and that's the compromise you get in exchange for this really nice matte surface to work on, and my hand and the pen can glide on it really smoothly unless it's really sweaty, in which case you may want to wear the artist glove that's included. Now overall, the visual quality of this display, it's really stunning. The company says this can be used on the go because it's so portable. The thing is, this is a pen display, so it needs to be connected to a computer. I guess it's portable in the sense that after I'm done drawing with this, I can put this on my bookshelf because I don't really have much table space. Downsides or limitations: there are no control buttons, and you cannot use the brightness control buttons on your Mac or Windows keyboard to adjust the brightness. To adjust the brightness, you have to use the Xencelabs driver. This is an OLED display, so there will be pulse width modulation, and people with sensitive eyes may be affected by PWM. So the bottom line is, this pen display looks beautiful and it's really well made, and the pen performance is fantastic. As to whether this is worth the money, well, you guys can decide after watching the full review. So let's start by looking at the items included with the purchase, more specifically the bundle set. The packaging box looks really good, and this is a very big and heavy box. On the back, all the items that are included are listed. Let me unbox this for the first time. By the way, when you're watching this video, I would have used this pen display for about 1 or 2 weeks. Wow, this cover is heavy. Oh, and that's because there is this bag, this carrying case that's behind the cover. Let me take this out. Wow, the quality of the fabric is actually quite good. We have a thank you card here, a setup guide. Oh, the pen display is inside this cloth sleeve instead of a plastic sleeve. So that's really nice. That's the stand. A protective cover. Oh, this unboxing experience is multi-layered. So I'm going to take out all the items first. Oh, I see there are some more items beneath. So this really has many layers. It's nice that the boxes are labeled, and these boxes are actually attached to the cardboard box, so you can't actually move them, which is to say that if you want to put back all these items, you can do so very easily. And check out the colored velcros. And inside this box we have the interchangeable power plugs, and this is a 30-watt USB-C charger. I like the highlighted port. It seems like the connectors are using a custom design. So if for some reason the plug actually breaks off, you may have to go back to Xencelabs to get a replacement. And in this small box we have one artist glove. This is warranty info. We have a microfiber cleaning cloth, and there is this sticker. Even the quality of the microfiber cleaning cloth looks pretty good to me. For the cables, we have USB-A to USB-C, full-size HDMI to full-size HDMI, and all the cables are braided. This is USB-A to L-shape USB-C. There are 2 USB-C to USB-C cables, and I have tested them. This one with the bigger connector is a video cable, and this one with the smaller connector is a charging cable. And then there is this full-size display port to mini display port cable. Oh, there is another cable here. So this is a USB-C to L-shaped USB-C video cable. Other items included are 2 detachable pen holders. This video adapter is only included with the bundle purchase. This is not included with the standard or essentials purchase, and this will give you support for HDMI, display port, and this will provide additional power to the pen display so that you can drive it up to 300 nits of brightness. Now without this, you can connect the pen display to your computer, but you can only get up to 170 nits of brightness. So if you need HDMI, display port, or extra power or extra brightness, go for the bundle purchase, because I don't see this being sold on Xencelabs website as a separate accessory. This is the Xencelabs Quick Keys shortcut remote that is included with the bundle purchase. By the way, this display is only flickering because of my camera settings. My eyes cannot see the flicker. Now this is a good shortcut remote. You can configure up to 40 shortcuts with the 10 buttons and wheel. And the build quality is really solid. And this OLED display will show you what are the shortcuts on the display. But I have not configured this yet. And there is this huge piece of rubber padding behind so that you can actually place this on the pen display if you want to, or place it on the table, and this is not going to move. And now let's look at the pens and the pen case. Now, this is really well made. This is very comfortable to hold, and I love the matte textured surface, and the build quality is really solid. So inside you will find 2 pens. This is the stand that also looks well made. There is rubber padding here, here, and here, and this is matte textured. You can push this out to deploy it at this height, or you can push out the smaller one to deploy it at this height. Design of the carrying case looks beautiful, and I can see and tell that this is very well made. The stitching looks really nice. I'm not sure what this is for, but it's there. There is a zip pocket here, and inside it's felt like cloth. I'm not sure how resistant this is to water, but it's best not to have your pen display out when it's raining, even if it's in a bag. So we have this. Oh, I thought this can be removed, but it's stitched here to the handle, nice, so that you will not lose it. We have a zip here at the top, and we have two rings here at the side. This strap is for the two rings, so that you can use this as a strap, a messenger bag. And inside we have some soft padding as well, and this is padded. There is this compartment here for the pen display, I guess, and this other compartment here has smaller pockets for the cables, and you probably cannot see because it's so dark. That's the slim pen, and this is the thicker pen. That's the pen tip remover. This is the USB-A wireless receiver for the shortcut remote, which does not use Bluetooth for some reason. So if your computer does not have USB-A, you can use the included USB-C to USB-A adapter. And there are 6 extra plastic pen tips and 4 felt tips. Let's take a closer look at this slim pen. So there are 2 side buttons and 1 eraser at the back. This grip is plastic, if I'm not wrong, and this is matte textured throughout. And this is quite comfortable to hold, and I can get a good grip on the pen, so when I draw with it, my fingers are not going to slide forward. The pen tip does have slight movement, but it's minimal movement. And this is the thicker pen with 3 side buttons and 1 eraser at the back, and this is a silicone grip, and this also feels really comfortable to hold. This pen tip also has slight movement to it. Both pens support tilt sensitivity and 8000 over levels of pressure sensitivity, and all the buttons are customizable. You can tell that a lot of effort has went into the design of the product, the accessories, and also for the graphic design of the marketing. And I just realized the length of all those cables that I showed you are labeled here. And now let's take a look at the pen display. So this cloth sleeve feels really nice. I don't think you'll want to throw this away. The quality of this is pretty good as well. Okay, so this is the Xencelabs Pen Display 16. So this is matte textured glass, and I can see the anti-glare is not that aggressive, which is nice, and the build quality is extremely solid because the back is made with metal, and this is matte textured, and this is quite susceptible to fingerprints. There are, wow, 8 rubber feet, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 4 smaller ones inside. On the top, there is just one USB-C port that is flush to the surface, and that's the power button, and that's pretty much it. All these little slits or lines that you see are part of the design. Even the rubber feet at the corner is not the typical round rubber feet. I mean, this one is round, but this one is a custom design. I've just connected the pen display to my Mac, and I'm color calibrating it, and I measured maximum brightness of 260 nits with one USB-C to USB-C cable connection. I measured color support for 100% sRGB, 90% NTSC, 95% Adobe RGB, and 91% P3. I work with print design, so I use Adobe RGB, and 95% Adobe RGB coverage is really good. This guide says that you can get even higher brightness up to 300 nits if you use the video adapter that's included. So this is the video adapter. This is going to my computer. This is going to the power outlet. This is HDMI going to my computer. And this is USB going to my computer so that the pen can work. Right now I'm trying to measure the maximum brightness. So the maximum brightness is 277 nits with extra power connected. Here at the corner, 279, 261, 278, 303. So for some reason, the top left corner has more power. I am very happy to tell you guys that this pen display is sufficiently bright because when they mention 170 nits with USB-C connection from your computer or maximum 300 nits with power connected, these are advertised numbers, and generally speaking, with most pen displays that I've tested, the real world brightness is usually 10 to 20% lower. But here with the Xencelabs, with a single cable connection, you can get 260 nits, which is higher than the advertised 170 nits. So kudos to Xencelabs for being able to push the brightness higher than 200 nits. I've just connected this pen display to a Windows tablet and the brightness looks high enough to me. I have also tested the pen display with this mini PC running Windows and this laptop which is also running Windows, and the brightness looks sufficient to me. Which is to say that this video adapter may not be necessary unless you want to use HDMI or mini DisplayPort, or you really want to have the brightness go above 250 to 300 nits. So color accuracy for this display is good and brightness is sufficient, and the matte surface has good anti-glare, so diffuse reflections do not make the whole thing white. As in, you can still see the colors beneath the diffused reflection, so the visual quality of this display is pretty good. All matte textured surfaces will introduce some grain, color noise or anti-glare sparkle, and on this pen display I can see slight color noise, but it's not too bad. I'm not sure if you can see it in this video, and it's actually quite difficult for me to show you. From what I can see, the visual quality looks really good and the 4K sharpness is really sharp. The text, the icons, the symbols, they all look really sharp to me. And this display is laminated, so there is almost no gap between the glass and the pixels beneath. Remember those lines by the side of the pen display and also at the top and also behind the pen display? Those are actually groove lines to help you install the pen holder. And there is one holder for the slim pen and one for the thicker pen. You can install the holder at the top as well. Just have it go to the back and push it to the front, and this will lock into place. And if you want to remove it, you just pop it out. It's real easy. So now you can keep your pens by the side or at the top. I have just adjusted my camera settings to show you pulse wave modulation or PWM. So right now you can see there is flickering on this display, and I have just adjusted the camera settings back to remove the flickering. So there are people with sensitive eyes that are affected by pulse wave modulation, PWM. So if you're not sure whether your eyes are that sensitive, I would recommend you go to an electronics shop and look at OLED displays or OLED laptops or OLED TVs. Just stand in front of the OLED screen and see whether your eyes are sensitive or whether you feel weird. And now let's look at the driver. So let's look at the Pen Display 16. So it says here that for mapping settings, you can use virtual tablet on or off, which I will show you later. So other than that, there is nothing much to calibrate for this display. This is where you can customize the thicker pen with the 3 buttons, and these are the options available. You can customize mouse clicks, create your own keyboard shortcuts, assign a modifier key. Under tablet display, you can have precision mode where the cursor will move slower, and that's switch display. And this is virtual tablet, and there are many more settings here. Under navigation, this is the usual navigation controls: zoom in, out, scroll up, down, back, forward. There's application, eraser, disable, and reset to default. Under advanced settings is where you can customize the pressure curve. So you can use the slider, or you can adjust the 3 control points on the pressure curve. And this is where you can adjust the pressure curve for the eraser. And under more, you can adjust the pen tip sensitivity. Let's go to the thin pen, and same thing. For the thin pen, you only have 2 customizable set buttons and the eraser. And this is where you can customize the quick keys shortcut remote. You can customize up to 4 shortcuts for the wheel, and notice how the colors will change. And you can customize up to 8 shortcuts for one group of shortcuts. And you can customize up to A, B, C, D, E, 5 groups. So in total, you can actually get up to 40 shortcuts. By the way, I have my full review for the quick keys remote in a separate video. So if you want to learn more about this, you can check out that review. And these are the different settings for the quick keys, like you can adjust the brightness of the display, or set the sleep timer. And under device settings, this is where you can control the brightness and contrast. So there are no physical buttons on the pen display to control the brightness. So to adjust the brightness, you have to do it through the driver. And under color settings is where you can choose the different color modes. So I'm using Adobe RGB, but there is sRGB, Rec 709, Rec 2020, and P3D65. Under display control is where you can calibrate the pen. So if there is cursor misalignment, where the cursor is further away from the pen tip, this is where you can customize the pen display. And since there are no hotkeys on the left and right side of this pen display, you probably don't need to rotate the orientation of the display unless you want to use this vertically. If you click here under settings, you can back up your settings, or you can import your settings. One thing I almost forgot to say is it is possible to create shortcuts that are specific to apps that you use. For example, if I switch to Clip Studio Paint, for example, you can see there are some shortcuts here which were pre-programmed. If I switch to Adobe Illustrator, the shortcuts will change. So what this means is whenever you launch an app, the active app will automatically set all the shortcuts on the shortcut remote. So you will always get the shortcuts appropriate to the apps that you use at that moment in time. So this is actually quite convenient. And now let's take a look at virtual tablet, which is actually switch display to me. I have set that shortcut to the side button here. So if I press once, you can see this UI that shows 2 displays, which means I can control the cursor across both displays. So if I want to drag that window from that display on the left to here, I can do so very easily, or I can drag things from here over to that display. If I press the shortcut button again, you can see this single display UI, which means now I'm controlling the cursor only on that display. Now if I want to drag that window over here, it's going to be very difficult because the cursor will not move across both displays, because this is only controlling across over one display. So to drag that over, I have to switch to this. And that's pretty much it for the driver. And to close this, just click there. And now let's take a look at the line test. Let's test the initial activation force. So this is how thick the brush is. And now I'm going to draw a thin diagonal line as slowly as possible. I can see slight wobble or jitter, but it's not really a big issue here. And the initial activation force is quite low, as you can see. Let me just zoom in. Now you can see the wobble and jitter, but it's not too much of an issue. This is a piece of paper, and I'm going to repeat the same test. Yeah, there is slight jitter, but I don't think this is going to be a problem when you are actually drawing with the pen. It's just that it shows up in the line test. Next, let's take a look at tapered strokes, and this looks alright. The strokes are able to taper smoothly and sharply. This is good. Line transition from thin to thick. I can see some issues. So you can see there is this straight edge here, and there is one here as well, and here as well. The thing is, for some reason, when I'm drawing, sometimes the pen would lag for a split second to create that straight edge. And this happens only with this particular app, Miniband Paint on Mac OS. The problem does not happen with Miniband Paint on Windows. It's just with Miniband Paint on Mac OS, and this is CSP on Mac OS, and I don't have that issue with that split second lag. Let's see if we can maintain consistent line width by maintaining consistent pressure. And yes, we are able to do so. And this is also a diagonal line, so let's zoom in and have a look. I can see slight wobble here, but as I draw a bit faster, it's smoother. Let's draw some dots. So sometimes when I tap, the dot does not appear, so the workaround is to tap and drag. And this happens with Miniband Paint. For Clip Studio, it works fine. Next, we have the cursor misalignment test, where I will draw separate lines and join the lines by looking at where the pen tip is instead of where the cursor is. So if there is any cursor misalignment, it's going to be difficult for me to join the lines properly. Here you can see some overshooting, probably because I drew a bit faster, and here as well. But if you look here at the connection points, they look alright. So no cursor misalignment issues. Cursor tracking seems to be quite accurate right up to the edge of the display. You may see the cursor a few pixels away from the pen tip, but that's actually due to my camera angle. Next, we'll see whether the cursor will stray when I vary the angle of the pen. So now it's vertical and the cursor is directly beneath the pen tip. And as I tilt down, I can see maybe the cursor is moving 1 or 2 pixels away to where the plastic contact point is. So this is quite good, I would say. This is the latency test, and I can see the line trying to chase the pen tip, and this is the usual amount of latency with pen displays. Usually when drawing, this is my normal speed, and I won't even think about latency when drawing. Let's look at tilt sensitivity. So here you can see the cursor following the direction of the pen. So let's have a broad horizontal, broad vertical, works fine. This is Krita with the pencil brush. This is light pressure, heavy pressure, and we can have pressure and tilt working at the same time. Alright, let's draw something quickly while I talk more about the drawing experience. So this 16-inch display is a good size to work with. You can have palettes on the left and right, and there is still a good amount of space to draw with. And here I have an A4 size piece of paper. So you can see the display is actually wider by this much, but shorter by maybe this much. Yeah, so this is almost A4 size. This is a very comfortable size to work with. And right now I have the pen display on the stand, and this is a pretty good angle to work with as well. This is the higher angle, and I must say that having the pen holder on the side or at the top is really quite convenient. So after you are done drawing, you can just keep the pen here, and when you want to get back to drawing, just take the pen from the holder. It's really convenient. So I'm drawing with a light touch. I'm just creating some drafting lines first. And this pen is really sensitive. So it's very easy to create thin lines even if you have a thick brush selected. By the way, I'm using a 70 pixel brush, so this is how thick the brush is. Now this app, Minibank Paint, actually has some issues. The issue with the straight line because of the split second lag, but if you're not drawing long continuous lines, then for me I don't really see that problem. I just like how the pen feels very natural. I mentioned there is some movement with the pen tip, but it's very minimal movement. I know some people don't like that movement, they prefer a firm pen tip, but this one, I mean, this is almost quite firm. As in, when you're drawing, you don't really feel the pen tip going in or out. And the matte texture display is smooth, so this allows you to glide your pen and your palm on the display. So this is smooth, but there is this subtle tactile drawing experience. Now if you want even more texture, you can swap this out with the felt tip. There are no hotkeys, so when you see me zoom, I'm actually using my keyboard for the keyboard shortcuts. I don't use the shortcut remote because I am just way more familiar with keyboard shortcuts. Even if you can customize like 40 shortcuts, it's still limited to 40 shortcuts. So remember, this brush is still really thick. The nice thing about such a sensitive pen is when you want to draw thin lines, you can do so. When you want to draw thicker lines, just press down harder. Okay, the eraser is working. Now the workflow is very smooth. The pen display is just an extension of your hand, basically. It's just a tool. So when you're drawing, you're just drawing with a pen. Like you're just drawing with a ballpoint pen or pencil in your sketchbook. I read some reviews online saying that there is slight wobble or jitter with the pen. Yes, as you can see earlier, there is slight wobble with the line test. But the thing is, when you are drawing, sometimes the line tests, they don't apply. Yeah, because when you are testing for some things, you are usually looking for certain defects or issues, and your test will sort of show those defects. But when you're drawing, like right now, I don't see the wobble. You know what? Let me just draw a diagonal line right now. Yeah, let me just draw one here. So this is pretty straight. This is pretty straight. So let me draw another one here. Yeah, this is pretty straight. No issues at all. Let me just draw another one here. Nope, I don't see any wobble at all when actually drawing with the pen rather than testing the pen. Wow, I just love the anti-glare. Can you see that? So I have a huge window by the left side, and the anti-glare is not aggressive. And also the brightness is high enough, so the brightness can actually go through the diffuse reflection. And there is actually diffuse reflection on the display right now. It's just that you cannot see it because the brightness is high enough to go through all that. I just like how fluid the pen feels on the display. It's really smooth. It's definitely not slippery. Slippery is when you cannot control the pen. For this, you can still control the pen very easily. And drawing experience obviously is going to be better compared to drawing on glossy, oops, should I use the eraser? No, let me just use the keyboard shortcut. I don't actually use the eraser at the back because I have to turn to use it and then turn to go back to the pen. I just don't like that. It's just easier for me to use the keyboard shortcut. So when your pen is very sensitive, it allows you to draw thin and thick lines very easily. So you can give your lines more character rather than just having that same line width throughout, which is going to make your drawing look very boring. Yeah, I think I don't really have many negative things to say. The performance of the pen is very predictable, very responsive, and this pen display in the pen is definitely capable of producing professional art. For me, I'm just drawing mostly for fun. So if I want to color big areas or broad areas, I can just press down hard. I don't have to switch to a thicker brush and then later switch back to a thinner brush, thicker brush, thinner brush. For me, I just press down hard to get the thicker brush to color this. And if I need some detail, some texture here, fine lines, I can just create some fine lines very easily. Now, if you are a digital painter, this obviously is going to work fine. I mean, if it can create good line art, there will be no issues for digital painters. All right, the line art is done. The workflow is really smooth. There are no surprises, so the performance is very consistent and predictable, which is what you want when you are drawing. I didn't have to do much troubleshooting. All right, to conclude, this pen display looks good and works well. So if you guys are interested to buy this pen display, you can check out the purchase links that I have for you in the video description below. Thanks for watching. See you guys in the next video.